I'm a project designer, and one of the things that I tend to look at everything as a project. Yeah. So it's got fixed timelines, it's got fixed objectives, and how do you achieve those objectives? By good planning and good execution. I design large projects, various kinds of projects, city development, schools, stuff like that. Good design has immense power. So how do you design a large program and design it in a way that it gets delivered? The thing that I'm going to talk about is how do we think about moving from a $2.5 trillion economy that we are today to seven and a half trillion over the next 15 years. So that's going to be the subject of this discussion, and we're going to talk about the ideas. And one of the things I want to say is these are not pie in the sky ideas. These are ideas that have been implemented across the world, and they have worked. This government has a target to move $2.5 trillion economy to 6.57 trillion by 2030. Now on one side we've got, basically government is thinking about export-led growth. And I'd like to just say very quickly that we've got a trade war coming up, so the right way to do it. The second thing is our industry is not really, equipped to be the global manufacturing base of the world. So because you need very different skills. You need make precision components, you need a vernier caliper, how to measure things. So we're not very good at all these things. So we need to think differently. Second challenge is, how do we develop? Do we develop, and this is very central to what I'm talking about. Sarvodaya, the rise of all, which is basically a Vinoba Bhave concept. We don't want to execute a Dubai or China model in India that affects just a few people. We want to raise the masses of India and develop everybody so that we spread wealth across the country. That is very central to what I'm going to talk about. It's the vision of Sarvodaya, which is Vinoba Bhave's vision. And you can have, when you're talking about an export-constrained environment of a global problem in the international trading community, how do you generate, growth at home? It has got to be a domestic investment-led strategy, and for that you need attractive policies on the part of government, and on the other side you need large investment projects as catalysts. And there are 5 key concepts through which this can be done. Next. The first is urban equity withdrawal. How do you generate the very large-scale resources, financial resources that are required to finance all these projects? Yeah. What is urban equity withdrawal? I'll explain it to you. It is, let's say you take a location in South Mumbai. Okay, the cost per square feet is 55,000 rupees a square foot. If you we've got very dilapidated facility, in the port area, for instance, in Mumbai, we've got very rundown infrastructure. By building anew, you can actually take money out of the project area and deploy it elsewhere. So it's urban equity. The amount of money stored in that land, it's a land bank. Yeah, you take out huge amount of cash and deploy it elsewhere, anywhere you want in the country, either in the same city or across places. So the first project of this kind is L&T's Bandra East project. This is essentially something what I would call a fast breeder nuclear reactor. This is the kind of, you get out more fuel out of that reactor than you actually put in the first place. So L&T told the government of Maharashtra, this is a 93-acre plot in Bandra East. L&T told government of Maharashtra, we will spend 30,000 crores on this property. We will sell it for 1,25,000 crores, and we will give government of Maharashtra 70,000 crores in cash. Okay, now this is L&T's project. The numbers may vary depending on the FSI that the government gives this property. If it's FSI of 6 or 8, you get more money. If it's an FSI 4, you get less money. But the fact remains that a huge amount of money can be released from a project of this kind. Now, have everybody, I hope, understood what urban equity withdrawal means? Yeah? Now, I'm going to the next subject. So I'm saying if a 93-acre plot can generate 70,000 crores in cash, how much can be released across India if this concept is deployed? So this is I'll just run you through the total amount of money stored in our cities is around $1.24 trillion. This is the amount of capital that is currently stored in our city. It's locked. Okay. The first thing that the L&T project was about was the first line, okay, which is 40 billion. Now the second land is NA to converting agricultural to NA land at city limits. So you don't tax the first transaction, which is based on the value of agricultural land. You tax the second transaction when that land value has galloped. And that amount of money is $300 billion over the next 10, 15 years. The third thing is the planned rezoning of our cities. See, we have around 2,500 urban planners in India. We need to bring in planning resources and specialists from around the world to redesign our cities. So they redesign our cities to have planned financial centers in various areas. They redesign it, they change FSIs. The amount of money that can be raised is 900 billion. Now this is over a 10 to 15 year period, and I have designed a complete plan, and I've given it to the Ministry of Finance to release this money. It's a way of doing it so you don't have any irregularities happening. So it's under consideration, Ministry of Finance. Next. Now this is actually happened. Okay, this is how Hong Kong Harbour was developed. This is how Canary Wharf was developed. For instance, in Canary Wharf, a 97 acre property has a GDP of $14.5 billion. It is giving employment to more than 150,000 people. In Hong Kong, 6,990 acres was developed. It is getting, just the Disneyland in Hong Kong is getting 15 million visitors, and it has enhanced GDP 174% since 1990. So this has actually happened. What can be done in India? Next. This is how Kolkata waterfront looks today. It's 2,500 acres in the middle of the city. Okay, just look at the condition of Babu Ghat or Victoria Jute Factory, derelict docks, and then, this is what it is like today. What is possible in the heart of Calcutta is this. We can have this by 2027. I'll give you another example. The next example is Mumbai port redevelopment. Mumbai port redevelopment currently looks like this. It's 850 acres, and it can be developed like this with a 2,000 acre reclamation. So this is a $40 billion project, $45 billion project, and all the money for this project is raised within the project area itself. There's one single landowner, which is the Mumbai port. In the case of Kolkata, it is the Kolkata Port Trust. So there is no financial risk involved. Okay, so we can do this and we can achieve this. So the second concept, now after urban equity withdrawal, I'm taking you to the second idea, which is creating entrepreneurial banks in India. See, if you look at the American example, this was what was possible in the United States. The first transatlantic cable was built in 1866. Banks went and approached the government and said, we will build this cable. It substantially improved the trade between Europe and the United States. You look at Northern Pacific Railroad. This is JP Morgan approaching the government of the United States and saying, we will develop the railroad, which is from the Great Lakes to the Pacific Ocean. The Panama Canal in 1904, with Theodore Roosevelt was the president when this project was put in. They raised money for this. This is the Marshall Plan for the redevelopment of Europe in 1948. Even recently in the UAE, the banks in the United Arab Emirates have approached the government. They worked with government to finance the Burj Khalifa, all the Palm Islands. Everything was developed by bank finance. So what I'm saying is, can we have the passenger jet was also developed by bank finance. The uniform container cargoes was also developed by bank finance. And these banks thought beyond what their current agendas were. I'm not seeing a case where Indian banks go and tell the government that we'll work in alignment with you to do all these large projects. It's possible. For instance, in the case of Mumbai Port Trust or Kolkata Port Trust, the bank should approach the government of India and say, look, we will raise the LCs, we will raise the fee-based financing, just the putting together the consortium and financing it, arrangers' fees are 2% of project cost. That's a huge amount of money for a bank to make. So this is a massive opportunity for banks in India to raise massive amounts of money and graduate to being from where they are in retail banking to go to investment banking on a very, very massive scale. Okay, so this is the third concept is collaboration with the United States, the European Union, and Japan on very large construction projects. Can we make India the largest construction market in the world? That is what I'm trying to tell this audience. We can do this. Now, for instance, as I said, manufacturing, making India a manufacturing hub is a target of the government of India, and it will be done. But to make it faster, to really add value to what the government of India is trying to do, it is easier to do construction projects, create more jobs. These projects which I've just shown you, the Mumbai waterfront can create 900,000 jobs, just the Mumbai project. Yeah? So we can create more jobs by enhancing, by collaborating with the United States, Japan, and the European Union. So what it entails is the Prime Minister of India, goes, and the Commerce Minister goes to the United States and makes a pitch to the President of the United States, to European Union leaders, and to the Japanese, and whichever country is willing to participate, and tell them that, look, this is the kind of work front we have. We've got Mumbai port development, we got Kolkata port development, we got all these development projects along the Ganges River, for instance, the cleaning of the Ganga. It's essentially a waterfront development project. So we go and we say we've got this work front. We will see all these companies coming together. So the people will come in, they will because they need to train the people. It's easier to train somebody for a construction project than it is easier than making a person to work on a lathe. Okay, so construction is easier than manufacturing. And because manufacturing projects need a massive amount of manufactured goods, because all that cement, the steel, the glass panes, the window fittings, the buildings that you're constructing, everything requires manufacturing. So we don't need to depend on an export-led growth strategy. This strategy will work. The fourth thing, I told you, I'm thinking in terms of execution. Now this particular thing has worked. In Britain, there's an office called the Infrastructure and Projects Authority. It's headed by a gentleman called Tony Meggs. It reports directly to Theresa May. So can we create a similar office? Given Britain's size, it's 200 people in that office, right? In India, you will need probably 1,000. And you can do, that particular office in Britain has a mandate to execute 200 large projects worth 500 billion pounds. Now in India, we have an economy that's larger than Great Britain. So can we have an office that has a capability to handle projects worth $750 billion? It's possible, yeah? So, and you need it at two levels, and these people will not be, standard administrators that you have in the IAS. These people will be project experts. They'll be project execution specialists, there'll be project managers, there will be engineers, and they will be project finance people, okay? Commercial people who handle purchase contracts. So these people will be completely focused on projects. One layer will be at the PMO's level, the other level will be reporting to the Chief Minister. So it's at two levels that this thing will happen. Projects can be fast-tracked. We can create, if we do this, we can create, not in the two projects I illustrated, it's around 1 million people per project, 900,000 to whatever number of people. But across the country, if you do this with healthcare, with education and stuff like that, you can create 65 million construction jobs in the country in the next 10 years. Next. And this is the final fifth concept that I'm talking about. See, for instance, in India, when we're selecting, at the senior levels of government, when you're talking about secretaries to the government of India, today the education secretary will have a certain qualification, but he'll be handling, let's say, education, but his background will be completely different for the last so many years. Somebody has worked in the earlier stages, he's a district collector, then he becomes mine and metals trading, then he's in power, then finally he goes into education when he's at his most senior level, right? Now, this kind of varied thing, the fellow may be very good at what he's doing. He may be very good at whatever level, he may be a very competent person, but when he comes into the office, it takes him 2 years to learn his job. I'm saying, why not have, for let's say 6,500 IAS officers today, can we have an open interview process where the best person gets selected for the job? And he needn't be from the IAS. He can be from any field which he is committed to. For instance, we've got persons who are, committed about education. Why cannot a person who's got a vision for education occupy the role of education secretary? Now, if you look at the difference, I did an opportunity cost calculation saying that, look, we have got a target of reaching $7.5 trillion by 2030. Let us say that we are not able to achieve this target because of deficit in leadership and not having the right person in the right job. What is the cost per IAS officer to not achieve that target? That cost comes to between $300 and $350 million per person. This is a massive cost on the economy. So we need to have, we've got, for instance, a shortage of 1,496 IAS officers today. Why cannot we start immediately with this particular shortage to fill these positions? Why can't all these people be filled through open interview? So you have, let's say you want the position of defense secretary. In America, the current defense secretary has got his entire life he spent in the military. Their health secretary has spent his entire life in healthcare. The same goes with other countries. So why can't we have in India a person who has committed to his line, he's got a vision for his line, take up that position in government? then what does success look like? See, finally you got to measure success in terms of what is achieved. Okay, so there's certain metrics. Now, one of the things is Kolkata port, I'm saying it looks like this today. It can look like this in 2027. This is success. Mumbai port is like this today. It is dilapidated. This is what it can look like in 2027. And how do you achieve this? To achieve this, you need all the components I've talked about. Firstly, you need the urban equity withdrawal finance. There needs to be a policy by the government of India of how to release that $1.24 trillion. Anyway, there are 5 different concepts. Each one of them, whether it's the large projects office within the PMO, whether it is the concept of banks coming forward, you know, all of them have to come together to deliver these projects. Now, what are the investment? Just go 2 slides back, which I was showing. Yeah. See, this is what our difference in that urban equity withdrawal thing with what is happening around the world. For instance, Hong Kong Harbour and the other Canary Wharf in the UK did not spread that development. In this particular case, for $45 billion Mumbai port development, you can take out of that 2,92,500 crores that you release, 80,000 crores can be moved into Maharashtra to the rest of Maharashtra. Next slide. To develop those regions. We've got water tables in Vidarbha and Marathwada falling from 125 feet to 900 feet. Can we build, to solve that problem, can we build 60,000 check dams in these areas? See, a check dam, when you build it, it is not just providing jobs. What it does is it raises the water table, it prosperity in our villages, and it stops, most importantly, people from migrating to cities. It's a very important point. We need to stop people from migrating to cities. So we don't want to create an environmental catastrophe by having too many people in our cities because of falling water tables in our villages. So the best way to do it is to move money from our cities, which are the storehouses of huge amount of money, to our village areas. Now, can we build 2,000 secondary schools? Can we build 300 new hospitals in these places? And the money that I have talked about, 80,000 crores, 84,000 crores, how it will be spent, right? The other thing is clean energy. See, the government of India has a plan to create 175 gigawatt of clean energy by 2022, 2023. So for this amount of money required is huge. But if you club let's say an offshore wind turbine project which costs 18 crores a megawatt, if you club this facility with a smart city development like we have talked about Mumbai port or whichever other port, you can finance that project. On its own, you cannot finance an 18 crores per megawatt wind turbine. So this kind of, it's like a jugalbandi where you combine projects to finance clean energy projects. Yeah. So what are the investment multipliers of something like this? See, if you have, let's say, a large chemical complex or a plant like that, it's $11 billion. It can employ 80,000 people for 3 years. But these projects that I've talked about, when you're doing urban equity withdrawal, the investment multiplier effect is far more. So I have used in my calculations, I've been a little conservative on the impact that this can have. I've used a standard investment multiplier of 3. So if for a $45 billion project, your investment multiplier impact, just Mumbai, I'm talking about, just the Mumbai Eastern Waterfront Development, $135 billion. Today, the Mumbai project that they are developing on the waterfront they're developing is a $400 million garden. This project which I have shown you is phase 2. So it's a much larger project. The kind of jobs that will be created on the construction side is 3 lakh jobs in Mumbai. Outside Mumbai is 6 lakh jobs. So this is the kind of development model that I would like to share. Thank you so much.